ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Couch Experts podcast. I am your co-host, Zane Alley, alongside my man, as always, Mr. Jahmari Moore. And today we have special guest, friend of the show, voice of Cowboy Wrestling, Mr. Dan Morris. Dan, thank you for joining us.
As always, man, it's my pleasure to be here. Excited to talk to you guys, and always excited to talk high school and college wrestling.
And then, Jahmari, how you doing, man?
I'm excited. It's always nice having Dan on. I remember seeing him at I think it was the Nevada game, the Jersey retirement game. So it was good seeing Dan then, and I look forward to having him on now. I mean, he told us in the beginning of the season what to anticipate. I'm very interested to hear what you got.
Well, I was pretty spot on for the season, but I don't know if I'm spot on for the Nationals. But I'm going to stay confident, maybe a little cocky, and see if the Cowboys could do the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been talking about you in a lot of episodes because we're like, look, this is what Dan said. So it's gonna be fun to recap some of that. But guys, we got a good show for you today. As you can tell, we have Mr. Dan Morris with us. We're gonna talk a little bit about basketball heading into their tournaments in Las Vegas for men's and women's respectively. And then we want to talk a little bit about an NCAA qualifier in swimming and diving, and then talk about J-Mike in the NFL Combine. So without further ado, Dan, let's jump right into it. All season long, it seems like we've been talking about Christian Carroll and what a just an advantage it is to have a heavyweight of his caliber to clean up those points at the end. And can you talk a little bit about Christian Carroll and just what you've seen from him growth-wise throughout the season?
Yeah, he's been absolutely incredible, spectacular wrestler. I think he is probably our Joey Novak is sitting ranked number 3 right now at 197. Christian's at number 7 at heavyweight, but I would almost lean to Christian to have a better showing at nationals. But problem is, heavyweight this year is loaded. There are serious dudes at heavyweight across the country. So if he's going to finish up in the top 4, he's going to have a hell of a tournament and be really proud of what he's done. But having him in the room and having him in the UNIWYO competing, sometimes you can feel electricity in the room when he steps on the mat. He walks on slow. He's got this casual country music he plays. Nothing rushed, and it comes out, and you can be, I say his biggest criticism is all he needs to do is shoot double legs, single legs, double legs, and score takedowns, and he just destroys people. And he can take 2 or 3 minutes to start going like that, but once he starts kicking in on your legs and attacking you, it's every time he wrestles, we all sit at the head table and the fans are sitting there like, I have never seen a human being move this fast. That big, that fast. If he wasn't our heavyweight, he would be starting a linebacker for the football team. I mean, he is so fast and so violent, but just such a great dude. I've talked to him a couple times, and humble, cool, relaxed, supports his teammates. He does everything right. But you want to see a competitor, man. He brings absolute fire. Keep an eye on him at nationals. I'm so excited to see when he hits the NCAAs. But like I said, the Big 12 is loaded. We're the number 2 conference in the country right now. I think we have 86 allocations for nationals or something like that. So
I
that's
think flip it, 68.
68. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's 88 for the Big 10. Yeah, that's right. They're like 86, 80, 10, somewhere in there. Yeah. And we're sitting at 68, which is number 2, which tells you how good our conference is from top to bottom, loaded at every weight. But Christian is an extraordinary special man, and we're damn lucky we've got him at the university, and I really think he'll stick around a long time. And he's everything. I'd sit there every time and think this is our next national champion. I mean, he's just that good. He will impress every single night. And he's wrestling since the Soldier Salute with an injured knee, giant knee brace on his leg, yet he still doesn't back off. He doesn't let up. He took 1 night off in Northern Colorado to just rest up, but he's back and he's ready to go.
He is a absolute specimen, to say the least. He reminds me so much of Brock Lesnar, who, by the way, fans, if you didn't know, he played linebacker. Actually, he was DN for the Minnesota Vikings there for a little while. So I don't know, maybe Jay and company, if they decide they need somebody ready to go with some eligibility, they've got to go ahead and see if he's available this fall.
All right.
Jahmari, anything to add with Christian?
I would say with that point with football, there's a good I guess the word is carryover from wrestling to football with tackling specifically. I just remember when I was in high school, and one of the 2 main sports people did in the off season outside of football One was track and field, and the other was wrestling. And so there's definitely a lot of good correlations in wrestling and football in that way. So I could definitely see it, and he can easily be like I see him as a good run stopper. I would see him as a good run
Yeah.
stopper.
And he's violent,
Yeah.
and he's totally committed to whatever he's doing, which is what you
Uh-huh.
need a defensive player to do, who just sees the target and goes and
Uh-huh.
attacks. Form tackling, he was born to form tackle. And the dude
Right.
knows how to wrap up, get low. He does everything a football player should do. But I'm so glad he's a wrestler. It's so fun to watch him on the mat.
Absolutely. So we know, Christian, you touched on Joey a little bit. Is there anybody else fans need to keep an eye on going into the Big 12s this next week? Maybe as a dark horse, or maybe just somebody underrated and they shouldn't be a dark horse.
I think there's a lot of kids that are gonna pleasantly surprise. Bench has got them clicking right now. I think there's a few kids that we're gonna see step up. I wouldn't be surprised to see us. I'm looking down the list here. I got my notes on the side, and our top three weights at 184 with Eddie Knightenbach. Eddie's crazy good, and he should be All-American. There's no reason he can't finish at the top. Joey, obviously number 3 ranked. He set a goal at the end of the year that he wanted to be a national champion, and it still could happen. It's up to him, but he's got to have his injured shoulder. He sat out for a couple months trying to rest his shoulder. When he came back, I noticed he was still, if his opponent would jerk on it hard enough or do something, he would flinch a little bit. So it still bothered him. But I haven't asked him or the coaches how he's doing, but I imagine he's not going to let it hold him back. And Christian Carroll, number 7, those are our 3 dudes right now. And they should all, if they fall short of All-American, they've let themselves down. I think that's all their goals. But the Willischel brothers, Luke at 33 and Gabe at 49, they're both top 25 wrestlers. And Gabe, Luke is higher ranked, but I think Gabe, he's a graduate, he's more experienced, he understands the tournament, he's been there before, and Gabe could have a really good couple weekends coming up here. I think a lot will be determined out of the Big 12 because his weight class is tough at 49. We'll see how he comes out of that. Luke should be legit. And then keep eyes on Sloan Swan and Riley Davis. Both of them have been top 30 kids all year. Riley he dropped out of the top 30 maybe 2 weeks ago because he took a close loss, but it was at a bad time to drop him out of the ranks. But Riley is wrestling as good as he has. When he gets on fire, he's good. Jared Hill, man, I don't know. It's so hard to call Jared because 157's been tough this year, and Jared started out top 25, and then he took a few losses, a few close losses. Then he's pulled some upsets, and he's been kind of up and down between 25 and 35 all season. Right now, he's out of the rankings, but Jared's been there before. He knows what he's doing. So, if we get, I don't know, maybe 4, 5 All-Americans, we potentially, maybe if we have a really great term, maybe 6. David Signs at 41 is not getting ranked, and he only became a starter this year, but David is on a mission. He's been fun to watch. He went from not even we are sure who's starting at that weight to David legitimately owns the weight now, and he pushes every kid he faces. So David might surprise. So, let's just keep talking about the kids. You go down to 25, you got Sefton Douglas, who has really struggled this year. 25's tough across the country, but Sefton has just had a tough time at it. But he's a national champion, NAIA national champion out of Western Wyoming. He knows what to do. He has the skills. He's just got to put it all together at the right time. And they've had these couple of weeks to kind of help him get back into his own head. So hopefully Sefton will have a showing. So, it's not crazy to think that there's 10 kids at Wyoming, one in every class, that could be at least, if not the All-American, at least earning a lot of points for the team when we go through the Big 12s and go into nationals. I'm really believing in this team this year. And we're young. We're tough, and Branch has got everybody really dialed in right now. We took a bad loss mid-season. Branch was torqued. He couldn't believe how badly we wrestled. I just sat there shocked. That loss to Oregon State was kind of a statement to the kids of, all right, knock your crap off. Stop looking at your rankings. Stop reading the paper. Stop writing your own stories and start wrestling. Then we went on that 4-match winning streak at Air Force, North Dakota State, University of Northern Colorado, and then beating Oklahoma, who was at the time, I think, ranked 13th or 14th, and knocked off the end of all 4 were convincing, solid wins. Wyoming was never not in control of the night. So Branch at Oregon, I know he Man, after that Oregon State, he was, just say it bluntly, he was pissed. And you saw it on his face. Heard it in his interviews. He was not happy with his team and told them so. And they went through some pretty intense practices, and they saw the results of 4 straight wins. And now we've got that rhythm rolling, ready to roll for the Big 12s.
I remember that Oregon State matchup, and Jahmari, I don't know if you remember, we were hyping them up after a really good South Dakota State win against a ranked one. And then I checked the records and I'm like, then we dropped one against unranked Oregon State. So it was definitely one of those, okay, what's going on? So I'm glad to kind of hear that from your perspective. Maybe it was just, and kids do that, adults do that, we all do that. We start reading into ourselves a little bit more than we should. We got to kind of bring ourselves back to the ground a little bit, so to speak.
One spot that kind of, I think, was that problem child right in there was actually the match before when we went to West Virginia. West Virginia's been top 15, top 20 all year long. We rolled in there and should have beat them. We dropped a couple matches and didn't get bonus points when we should have. And then I think we were up by 1, maybe with 2 weights to go, and ended up losing 21-15. And that, I think, a little bit cracked the armor. And so then we came off, and it was just this big thing before Oregon State and put us in a funk. And Branch is like, that's enough of that. So that little stretch in there, I was just looking over their schedule here. We faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top 20 teams this year. And we and overall record of 8-5 in conference, 7-1. That's a pretty legit record. But there were those hiccups. We could seriously be 10-3, 10, maybe if you dream crazy, 11-2. I mean, we're not beating Penn State. Sorry. Let's not dream that crazy dream. And Ohio State, the national duels, that we got owned. There's no reason our team couldn't have 10 wins right now. And I think Branch believed that. And that little hiccup in the middle that gave us those 2 extra losses just drove him nuts. We thought we were on a rhythm and kind of lost it, but gained it back. And I think we're looking good for the Big 12s.
Something you had mentioned earlier related to their response and some of the responses for those losses. Can you tell us a little bit about the culture and the mindset of this team this year, and whether or not you believe it's the beginning of something that's already been in the making, or something that we might need to figure out how to carry over for the next season?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting. It's interesting bringing that up, Jahmari, because I've kind of paid a lot of attention to that this year. Because you go back 3 or 4 years when Branch had Wyoming had a down year, and it was very frustrating for Coach Branch because we had a lot of wrestlers underperform, a lot of wrestlers who had issues going off them, going in class and in the dorms and off the mat. And Branch would never say this. I've jokingly used this term. Branch was flushed the toilet. He's like, nope. Got rid of a whole bunch of people, brought in a whole bunch of new kids, said, we're starting over, drop the slogans, drop the rah-rah. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to become something new. And so he has spent the last 3 years rebuilding this thing into what he envisioned. And the last 2 years, I saw intensity in him on the sidelines. That was a not very forgiving person. He wanted to see this team rise up and reach a new level. And this year, it's almost been Branch's intense. I mean, the dude is always intense, but it's been fun to talk to him this year because after the duels, he'll joke around a little bit and say hi to people and smile. He almost looks like he's having fun again. And he's having fun because his kids are not having to be beat on to become better wrestlers. They want to be great wrestlers, and they understand the mission of living cowboy tough. They understand what being a Miami is all about. And it's finally, after a few years of struggling, Coach Branch and the rest of the coaches have shifted the dynamics and the culture into what they want. And you bring up Jahmari of an existing culture or a long-lasting culture. Way over half our rosters underclassmen. So it's not like we're losing a whole bunch of dudes next year. I mean, our graduating class, I think we'll only lose David Signs and Gabe Willischel. And looking at the recruits we're bringing in, those are the weights we're plugging. So he's creating, and these kids we're bringing in are 2-time, 3-time, 4-time national state champions, U.S. Open champions, Greco-Roman national champions. I mean, he's bringing in legit kids who are going to push the kids that are there Coach Branch has no fear about starting a freshman or a sophomore if they go earn it. He doesn't care what class you're in. Go get me points.
Dan, you just touched on it a little bit. I think this is a great time to segue it. Can you tell us a little bit about this class coming in? Because I've followed along on social media with the wrestling team and with you. I know we're bringing in some state championship caliber kids already, but you said we're up to 7.
Yeah, that I know of. I mean, they could have talked even more at this point. The last time I checked this, I have 7 kids on my list that we've signed. I went and did a little looking into all of them this weekend while I was in Casper at the Wyoming State tournament. Spent an evening just researching the kids and seeing who are they, how they do at their state. We don't have anybody that coming in that underperformed at their state tournament. They all won state titles. They're all ranked. I think the worst we're maybe is like on the big board, which is like pound for pound, all the wrestlers in the country. I think the worst we have is a kid at like 166. You know, you have a top 150 kid, you're building the right thing. And we have all of our kids in the top 165, maybe something like that. So it's every one of the new kids are in the top, I would probably call it maybe the top 15 across the country in high school wrestling at their weight class. So Wyoming is a legit program. Kids want to come here and they want to do the right thing. But yeah, I'd just give you some quick rundowns. I got some notes here for you guys just because I didn't want to forget anybody and think of where they're at. But I went down to Colorado State 2 weeks ago. 2 kids were signed out of Colorado. There's Austin Collins out of Ray, Colorado, and Derek Barrows out of Pomona High School in Fort Collins. Austin, for a little 2A school, man, he just freaking rocked people's worlds. I mean, I don't think he was on the mat for maybe 5 total minutes the whole tournament. I mean, just 30-second pin, 40-second
Just
pin.
walking through, guys.
Just destroyed people. He got 4 wins by pin. He took second as a freshman, is now a 3-time state champion. Just an interesting side note about Austin from Ray. Now that he has his 3 state titles between him and his 2 brothers that wrestled at Ray High School, that family has 8 state championships.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's legit lineage right there, man. That's a fan that understands the sport. So it's a great.
What weight class is he, Dan?
He took the 150-pound.
150.
Yeah, almost all these kids are those middleweights, 150, 141, right, 170, right near those middleweights, almost everybody. The other kid from Colorado that I watched wrestle, I was lucky I was sitting right over Austin's mat, so I could see him really up close and personal. And then Derek Barrows was the next mat over. He's from Fort Collins, from Pomona, and he won his 3rd state title, 100. And then you start getting out of state or a little bit farther away. Blake Bardos is a 141-pounder out of Ohio and the state champion, but their state tournament is another 2 weeks away. They're March 13th, 15th. So Ohio runs a little bit late compared to everybody else in the country. So we'll see what Blake does in 2 weeks. Austin Paris out of Moab, Utah. He's a 157-pounder. He went through the Utah State tournament last week and didn't give up a point. I mean, legitimately blanked everybody he wrestled. Gave nothing up.
Cow.
And he stated before the tournament, my goal is to not be scored on. And that's exactly what he did.
Not even a get up? Nothing?
Nothing.
That is insane.
Yeah. So Austin's legit. He had his 4th state title.
Wow.
Dom Wilson out of Rockwall has finished his season 50-2 and won the Texas 6A 157-pound class. He also won the Greco-Roman under-17 U.S. national title this past summer. But Dom is legit. 6A in Texas is always legit. Roybal out of Roosevelt, Utah. He finished his senior year 47-1, and he's a 4-time state champ at 174. And then finally, Keller Walters out of Savage, Minnesota, finished his season 34-0, won the 172-pound weight class. It's his 2nd state title. But I was amazed. I looked into his history a little bit while I was kind of bored in Casper one night. And he should have won the state title his sophomore year, but a whole bunch of controversy in that because he actually got choked out by his opponent twice in the same match. I mean, literally choked out, passed out the first time he stood up and kept wrestling. Then they pinned him in the second choke out. And I watched the video of it. He was choked out. So as a sophomore, he probably should have won a 3rd state title, but stumbled there because of some controversy on the mat. And that is what it is. But 7 dudes bringing in, I'm just popping it off the top of my head. What is there? 17, 18 state titles between these 7 guys. So, yeah, I mean, Mark Branch has got it going on, man. It's the future is bright.
It's definitely a big It feels like a shift. I don't know if you agree with that, but it definitely feels like a big shift as far as not only Wyoming being more of a destination for wrestling, given this season especially, and then also just the approach to recruiting by brands. Because I think that when you talk about flushing the toilet, it's like, hey, we need to build something that's going to be sustainable. And so it definitely feels like this is something that I think fans might be able to get used to or even expect more from.
Well, and one thing that I don't think people take notice of enough, and I want to blow the horn a little bit for him, is our head coach and our associate head coach, Mark Branch, in his 18th season at Wyoming, 18 years at a college. You don't hear about that anymore. Somehow, some way, he gets recruited away. His head associate head coach, McCade Ford, has been there right beside him since McCade graduated from Wyoming. So these two dudes are legit Wyoming guys. And Mark loves having a ranch in Wyoming. He loves his horses. His wife from Minnesota loves being in Wyoming. They've just totally bought into the cowboy life here. It fits Mark's personality. He's stated time and time again that he will stay here as long as he wants to be a head coach, as long as he still has the fire, he wants to be here. So when we're talking about coaches that are committed and kids that are committed and overcoming the nil difficulties and all the recruiting and transferring games that are happening, we have the right coaches in place and we're getting the right kids in place. And that's really what Mark is doing so good for Wyoming right now. And if people aren't big fans of Wyoming wrestling, that's cool. But you're a fan of Wyoming. So come to some wrestling duels and meet these guys and talk to them and see what real Wyoming dedicated coaches and kids look like. Because right now, that's exactly where we're going.
One of the big things that I think make Wyoming sports so great and a big buy-in for fans are also rivalries, right? And so we wanted to ask you if there was any specific rivalry bout you're looking forward to at this part of the season.
About like individuals,
Yeah,
man, I tell you what, our kids have never acted like jerks on the mat. I mean, we've never had what I would say bad behavior.
right.
But when you face
Sportsmanship.
Northern Colorado kids,
Yeah.
and Oklahoma State kids, there's a little bit of swagger that goes on for both sides. So I don't know if I could pick out that one that's going to happen, but I went down to Greeley a few weeks ago and watched Wyoming wrestle down there. I was kind of impressed and maybe a little surprised at the bit of swagger Wyoming is showing. And Christian wins his matches and he jumps up and pumps a leg up in the air and shoots his pistols into his pockets. And you've got, was it Luke Willischel turning to the Oklahoma sidelines and giving them the thumbs down? I mean, it's stuff I love as a competitor and a coach. I want my kids to have some swagger. You don't run your mouth. Don't be a jerk about it, but you want to give a little glance or a hard stare. And at the Oklahoma duel, Oklahoma coaches were freaking whining. It was ridiculous. They cried about every call. It just was to the point I was getting irritated. So our kids are getting like going, "Oh, you want to cry about it, coach? Here, cry on another loss." And I just loved watching the swagger we had going. And it's not a distraction, at least for the kids. It builds the next guy coming out of, man, I gotta do this. I've got to rock with the team. And so I want to see that swagger in wrestlers. I mean, I just watched that maybe 1,000 kids in Colorado and another 800 was at the Wyoming tournaments. And I don't want to see you throwing your headgear. I don't want to see you slapping the guy's hand when you shake his hand. But you want to do a little flex to the crowd and get your hands up and do a little fist pump. Yeah, you should. You're in one of the toughest sports in the world. This is combat. And it's when you beat another man or another woman down and you win a state championship or you win a really important duel, man, you should be able to strut a little bit. And Wyoming does it just enough, irritates the other team, but just enough to get the crowd going and get people excited for wrestling. So I can't nail it. I couldn't really right now without going through all the lineups, maybe picking one out, but there's going to be some swagger. We're going to see the Big 12s, and I'm excited to see it.
I was going to say we all have, and Jahmari even touched on this in football, but you guys remember from when we were competing. There's rivalries that are built up for the fans, and then there's rivalries that just kind of get started once you've played a team enough times. And it's interesting to know that that's happened with a couple of teams that you wouldn't really think of. So that's kind of interesting. Dan, what do you think? How much has this team grown, both technically and mentally, from the start of the season to now? And in your opinion, you've touched on it a little bit, at least 10 of them. but what does success look like at the Big 12s for this team?
I will start by answering that in a general answer by saying the success in Big 12 is hard. I mean, it's to be successful in the Big 12, you can't get through a month of the season without facing three dudes that'll shoot you down. I mean, it's almost night after night after night of assassin after assassin coming after people. And so it's not really about having a one night show. You have to be 3 or 4 months of endurance, and you're going to be challenged all the times. When I remember, oh shoot, I can't now. I'm forgetting who it was, but there's been these matches where you just feel like what Branch has pushed on these kids is the level of confidence in yourself and believing in your skills. I kind of interject here. One thing that I really like about what Branch is doing that I don't see a lot at the other schools, you do see it at the top schools, top 10 schools. Every kid has their personal style and their best moves, and they don't live and die by them, but you can count on seeing it happen. Some schools, you see almost every kid doing the same thing. And I think that's what irritated Branch the most about the loss to Oregon State was because Oregon State didn't do anything but stall. I mean, they literally just stalled constantly, but they knew they could. And Wyoming would get frustrated. And it was ticking the crowd off. They were screaming for stalling. Branch was losing his mind. That's not the stuff Branch is going to push on his kids. You don't just ride, or you don't just circle and circle and circle and burn 18, 20 seconds off the clock. You wrestle. And so the kids that are not being as successful right now at Wyoming or are still learning how to be successful are the ones that have yet to develop that attack from any point, attack from any time kind of style. And Branch is customizing every kid's style to their abilities, which he earns a massive amount of respect from me because every kid at Wyoming wrestles a little bit differently. They all have the same scramble. From Christian down to Sefton, everybody knows how to scramble, stand on their head, and scramble and take ankles. But that you have to do that to survive the NCAAs. But double legs, single legs, high C's, arm drags, it's across the board. Everybody has their own thing going. So I think that's what makes me such a big fan of Mark Branch and his coaches is every kid is told, take your style, make the most of it, and we're going to make you win with what you know how to do best. And I also think that then contributes back to what Jahmari was saying. That builds that culture to kids when they want to get recruited here. They want to come here because Branch is like, no, we're not going to teach you to be a Wyoming wrestler. We're going to teach you to be an NCAA wrestler. We're going to take you, be it bigger than us. And we want you to take your skills and become who you can be. And kids get excited when they hear that the program's going to be about them. They can't wait to come here and be developed.
That speaks to a lot of experience by Coach Branch as well. You talked about 18 years of experience and being able to see different approaches to the game, how you coach the game, different ways that it has been successful and not. And so being able to recruit athletes who have a certain mentality and then being able to tailor their specific style, I think makes the most sense. And I think again, the value in having a coach with that much experience, I think it's priceless. I think it's invaluable.
And I think being that you guys cover a lot of Wyoming stuff, we see that happening with the men's basketball team with Sundance Wicks.
Mm-hmm.
He has an identity that he wants to see on the court, and he wants a certain style of player and a certain speed of basketball, and he's demanding it. I'm not going to tell you what I heard, but I was walking through the back tunnel of the AA during before a duel, and he was practicing. So I kind of just stood at the top of the tunnel and just listened, and I'm like, okay, well, this coach has some high expectations.
Yeah.
He was saying stuff to the kids I'm like, they better be thick-skinned because he's not pulling any punches. He's not trying here to make them feel good. You're either going to be a Wyoming basketball and identify with what I want you to do, or you can hit the road. I don't care. I'll go find another kid who wants to play Wyoming basketball because it looks a certain way, it happens a certain way, and we succeed a certain way. And Coach Branch, I think, has moved now past that stage that Sundance is in. And he has now already identified he has that team identity happening. And now it's bringing in the right kids to keep that identity flowing. Where Sundance, his basketball team, he's still in his first couple of years here. He's trying to really start to build the bricks at the bottom to get that foundation going. And I'm a huge Sundance Wicks fan. I mean, I just love it. I saw them early in the year in one of their preseason games, and I went to everybody, and I'm like, dude, that was so fun to watch. That was the basketball I want to see at 72-20. It was fast, it was aggressive, it was attacking. I don't give a crap if they could make half their shots, they will, but they were playing basketball at the speed. When we brag about how's your oxygen, we can't do it by passing the ball around for 32 seconds, which is what way too many coaches in the past have done with Wyoming basketball. Let's dribble down, let's pass a 5-man out, keep it out, and then eventually we're going to chuck up a 3 with 3 seconds left. Come on, man, that's not Wyoming basketball. Go run the floor. Run these dudes into the ground. CSU hates coming up to Laramie because it's so much higher. Use the elevation to your advantage. And Branch, that's his style with his wrestlers is you will push the pace. You will make sure you exhaust it. And we have opponents who just literally can't get off the mat. They're, third period, they're on their knees and they're just like head down. They're just like, you just see them trying to catch the breath. Branch is like, nope, that's the pace we want. Christian Carroll is just the epitome of it. You never let the other man rest. You attack constantly. So Sundance, Branch, they're getting it. Hopefully Savell and the rest of the coaches can take us that level too and learn how we're going to play fast and vicious sports. And we're going to have an identity as a school that doesn't take anybody's crap. Pretty simple.
I will say that was even, what Branch and Sundance have both said is they've gotten their guys, they've built this culture, and they're establishing the culture, especially in Sundance's case. Now, Sundance came out and he said, my number one priority in the portal is to retain what he's started because he knows those bricks at the bottom. It's going to breed success, but the problem is you've got to have that foundation for it. And so I can see what he's trying to do. And it's really cool to see again with Branch, like you said, it's already in place. And so it's really cool because you can bring in 7 guys in the top 165 in the country. They see that solidified. They understand there's a culture and an expectation here. And they know that, okay, if I'm going to come here, I'm going to be held to this standard. This isn't a program just figuring out they've got it.
And I think every kid dreams that they're worth a 6-figure nil. But the reality is that 85% of the players out there aren't. I mean, that's the cold fact. How many kids jump at the transfer portal and that's their career? It's over because nobody wanted them. They're not as good as they think they are. You have a home and a team that wants you. As people complained about the nil and the craziness of this transfer portal, I kept trying to reassure everybody, just chill, relax. Right now, the ocean has a big old waves on it. Watch what happens. Give it 2 or 3 years and it will settle back down. Because kids are going to find out the grass isn't always greener over there. If somebody's not already writing you a check, don't believe they're promising you a check because it's not out there. And when somebody calls you on the phone and says, hey, man, if you jump in the transfer portal, I know I can get you 6 figures. All they want is 40% of your 6 figures. They're not looking out for you. They're not going to take you to best school. They're not going to take you to the program you want. They're just looking for them to make a check. And as that truth gets out there, more and more kids hear it, the ocean will start to settle down and nil's not going to play quite as much into the game. Transferring won't play because there's no promise that there's better grass. And so what you have to then do as a coach and an athletic director and a program is build the best damn program you can have. Make kids want to be at your school. Make them believe in your program and be there. And that's how you're going to defeat the nil. You're going to have to play the nil game. But you've got to sell your school, you've got to sell your program, you've got to sell your coach to kids and make them believe in you and they'll want to be there. Because deep down inside, I know this sounds really soft to say, we all just want to be wanted. We want somebody to say, you're a great guy. I love you being here, man. You mean everything to us. Stick around. When coaches have the right personality, like I think Branch and Sundance have, and I truly believe Savell has that because I've listened to what kids have said about the Wyoming football program, and the kids like, I don't want to leave. I love it here. I know we're not winning, but I love it here. That tells me the coach is doing something right for them. Wyoming is actually, we talked about this the last time we were together. Wyoming's in a good place. We've just got to give it some time here and let things settle down nationally, and things will become better at Wyoming.
Yep, 1,000%. Well, the last thing we got for you, Dan, tell us a little bit about Bryce Meredith in the RAF and tell fans a little bit about what it was and maybe a little bit about who Bryce Meredith is if they're not familiar. Hopefully they are.
Hopefully, Bryce grew up in Cheyenne, wrestled at Cheyenne Central. When I talked to him a bunch of years ago, I asked him why he won. He went to North Carolina State out of high school, and he said, honestly, I just wanted to see what was outside of Wyoming. And that's why he came back to Wyoming. So he went out to North Carolina State, had a good experience, liked what he was doing there, but just wanted to come home, wanted mom to be able to come to his meets all the time, and came back and ended up wrestling for national championship. His senior year took second place. And so he's, he has the label of being a runner-up wrestler, but at the same time, Bryce legitimately probably should have won the national championship. I mean, he was that good. He faced this weekend in the RAF 6, which is Real American Freestyle. They call RFA 6, and it's a professional freestyle league. Just started a year ago, and he wrestled Andrew Alvarez from the University of Northern Colorado, who he was a national champion down there. So Andrew's legit, and Bryce really made it look good. It's a 2-period in freestyle. So in the first period, Bryce looked really good, but Alvarez scored a few points. And then in the second period, Alvarez was up, I think 7-2, I think was the score. And Alvarez did a throw and exposure to score 4 points and beat him in freestyle, it's a 10-point technical fall. So he beat him 13-1 to beat Bryce last night. But it was a really good showing. Bryce, I know he would believe, and if he saw this, he would say to himself, I could have done better. I didn't have the best night. But then it's kind of a side note to that, then before I go on to that, I got to tell you also, there was I got to remember their names. Yeah, it's Giorgio Poulos and Armin Sarakian. They wrestled last night, and they threw fists at each other and turned into a massive 40 people on the mat brawl in the middle of this big resident things. A little bit of energy at these, a little bit of excitement going on. One other name a lot of Wyoming Cowboy fans would know is former Wyoming Cowboy, former Oklahoma Sooner, former Iowa Hawkeye, and national champion Stephen Buchanan. He was edged out by GB Matarosaveli. The match ended 3-3 and was decided by criteria. But Buchanan, rumor mill is out there, Buchanan got injured last night. So we'll see if there's updates on that. So not the greatest day for former Cowboys in the RAF, but it's good that they're out there and they're getting their names out there, because they always, every broadcast, wrestled at Wyoming. Well, the more you can say that, man, it's better for us. So yeah, the RAF was fun. I didn't see the whole thing because I was traveling back from Casper, but I tried to watch all the highlights I could. It was a good night of wrestling.
I grew up with Bryce's now wife, Emily Meredith, and so I follow her on social media and Bryce on social media. But I usually get like the inside peek a little bit with them. So it's cool to see how far he's come. He's doing really cool things. Jahmari, you got anything else for Dan, buddy?
Dan, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to give us more information and what everything looks like. What it sounds like, and just from what we've been seeing, in a few years, if we are on the same trajectory, then I could see Wyoming, if not already being Wyoming wrestling being some sort of household or thing you just think about right away when you think about Wyoming. It won't just be Josh Allen, right, or Kenny Sailors for our basketball nerds, but it would be Wyoming wrestling.
The hardest part about I'm going to check here real quick because I think I have a note over for it. I just want to read this to you real fast because this will tell Wyoming fans how tough it is what Mark Branch and his kids do. This is the current top 25. They haven't released the tournament matchups for tomorrow yet. That'll happen tomorrow. This is team placing. Keep in mind, Wyoming wrestling finished in 3rd place in the Big 12. In the Big 12, top 25, number 3, Oklahoma State, number 4, Iowa State, number 14, Missouri, number 16, West Virginia, number 17, Northern Iowa, number 21, South Dakota State, number 22, Wyoming, and number 23, Oklahoma. So we're actually like in 7th place in the national rankings and placed 3rd place in the conference finishes. So what you're saying there, man, is that there are some big things happening in Wyoming, some really good things, and we are becoming that name. Branch believes completely that this program is a top 20 program. I think maybe when we talked the last time, I said we'll finish in the top 3 in the conference. We finished in 3rd place. I was also really confident, said cocky maybe, and said top 10 finish at nationals. Even though we're sitting number 22 right now, I think that it could still happen. The guys have to wrestle right. They have to believe the culture, and good things are happening in Wyoming. And I'm going to be really, really cocky if Wyoming can even be top 15 at the end of the year. I believe in them so much. I love what they're doing. And I think everybody at Wyoming should get excited and get behind this team. Be sure next weekend, Friday, Saturday are the Big 12 on ESPN Plus. And then, of course, the NCAA's the 2 weeks or a week later out of Cleveland, Ohio on ESPN. So it's big tournaments coming up, and I hope every single Wyoming fan out there tunes in to catch it.
I love that. I love that. Dan, we
Hey,
appreciate you
can
so
I add
much,
one more
buddy.
thing real quick for you? Can I add one more
1,000%.
thing? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to hit on real quick. I went to Wyoming State Tournament this past weekend for the high school kids, and there's a couple kids that I want to just give a little shout out to because on the boys' side, for the 34th time in state history, we had a four-timer. Tel Perry from Star Valley won the 144-pound weight class. Now, he is out of Star Valley. Kind of, you can make the assumption safely that he is a Mormon, and he is. So he's headed off to a 2-year mission I think he's going to Las Vegas. So he's even said he doesn't know if he wants to wrestle when he comes back. So when people say, oh, why isn't he at Wyoming? Well, dude, he's got things going on with his church. So let him do that first, and then we'll see where that comes. Patel Perry, 4-time state champion, finished this year 47-1. Thunder Basin win the 4A state title. Cody boys winning the state title. Kemmer winning the 2A title. The girls Star Valley team won. And in the girls' side, Kaylee Julander at 140 pounds. She's a 4-time placer and a 3-time state champion. Finished this year at 50-0. Kaylee is legit to
Wow.
win. Yeah, 50-0 this year. And then there were 2 other 3-time state champions on the girls' side, Ashton Hubbs out of Cody at 170 pounds and Lily Quintanilla out of Thermopolis at 120. So even down to our young people, and that we are a wrestling state. And if I want to just give that's why the last thing I want to say is anybody who's tuning in is just maybe thinking maybe my kid should wrestle. Yes, they should. As Jahmari said earlier, you want to be a better basketball player, you want to be a better track runner, you want to be a better football player. It all starts with everything they teach you in the wrestling room. Balance, control, strength, endurance. It all comes out of the wrestling room. So if your kid wants to be a star athlete, get them wrestling. And this is a great state to do it in and a great college to be cheering for that's doing it as well, too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even my realm, rodeo. I mean, it goes a long way. It goes a very,
How many
very
rodeo
long way.
guys are, I go to the National Finals Rodeo or to the Denver Stock Show Shine, and it's always like, oh, this guy was a 2-time state champion out of Minnesota wrestling and a saddle bronc rider, and this guy's a bareback rider, and they're all wrestlers. Steer wrestler, doesn't matter. All of them have wrestled. So I'd love to see everybody really get excited about cowboy wrestling because that's where it needs to be, and it's only going high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dan, let me hit you with our couch question of the week, and then we're going to get you out of here.
All right.
What is your strategy for a March Madness bracket?
Oh man, dude, I'm just in the middle of wrestling season. You saw like my son hit me up. Come on, Dad, get your $20 in the pool. I honestly, I have foolishly say who's favored, because I hate to admit this, man. Other than Cowboy basketball, I don't watch any college basketball. I'm the worst college basketball fan though. I love Cowboys, and I'll pay attention when the tournaments start. I can't wait to watch 100 million hours of March Madness. But until the first basketball hits the court, I'm like, don't really care. I'm watching wrestling. So yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask for good strategies. So I'm a who's favorite kind of guy.
Hey man, believe it or not, that is a strategy. That is a strategy.
I hope it wins.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. Well, thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Man.
We appreciate you so much.
It's always a pleasure.
Always get great insight, and we will hopefully see you soon.
Love to talk to you again soon. Maybe even after the NCAAs, we can run down one more time how many Cowboys ended up All-American.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right,
Let's
fellas.
do it, man. Let's do it.
Have a good one.
Hey, Dan.
You too.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes. Nice.
All right. So, yeah, guys, that was Dan Morris. Again, voice of Cowboy Wrestling, friend of the show. Dan's awesome.
He's amazing. And he just has I love how much he lights up just talking about, all of it from the recruitment to the high school athletes. Like, he is somebody I view as a community leader and a valuable community member in Wyoming in general. And so I just think that's just a reminder of it, and just that passion and that commitment to going to the games and traveling everywhere. Like, that's a lot of hard work. And so, to him, you could only imagine it probably doesn't feel like work at all.
No, not at all. I always joke with Dan. I'll message him because he he works at a golf course right now, but he worked
Mhm,
at golf courses during the summer. I do
mhm,
the same thing. I feel like we're both always, and you're in the same boat, maybe not the golf course part, but we're always talking Wyoming something. I just feel
mhm.
like Dan is a future version of both you and I
Yeah,
to a certain extent. So it's really cool to see. But hey, let's talk about a little bit of Wyoming basketball heading into the Mountain West tournament. Brackets are not set yet,
right.
but I just want to do a quick rundown. So, men's basketball team finished their season on in my opinion, on a high note.
Mhm.
Although they about lost to Air Force, who is a 3-win basketball team last
Yeah.
night. But then they knocked off a top 5 Grand Canyon University in basketball the couple nights before that. So this is the definition of a cardiac cowboy team. I don't know, man. Do you think is this team dangerous just because they are so I don't want to call them inconsistent, but very polarizing?
It could be depending on how they feel on a given night, right? So you see that they have the capability to get hot and be dominant, and then you have other times when they're not. And so I think from the perspective of just tournaments, being able other teams, the scouting, you definitely don't want to sleep on them for sure because I would consider us a sleeper for sure. I would call it a sleeper. uh, just because I think they are probably, if I had to take what Dan had mentioned earlier, they're still in that process of learning how to put it together. I think Sundance Wicks has the right guys. Now it's just putting it together and then sustaining it. And so, yeah, I think that to answer your question, I think they would be maybe streaky is another word I could use. And so you don't wanna sleep on them because that would be an upset waiting to happen.
I was gonna say because we have beat GCU. We played Utah State, who is currently first in the Mountain West. We
Mhm.
about beat them in Laramie.
Right.
But then we lose games that we don't have. What I think is happening, and I should have told this to Dan while he was in there, you're seeing the guys that were starting for Sundance at the start of the year are not starting now. They're still
Mhm.
getting time, but you're starting to see new guys kind of come in. I feel like the guys that are starting now and getting minutes now, they've taken the system, they've understood it, and now they're putting out the product that Sundance wants to see, or they really bought in and what it needs to look like. And I think that's kind of why we're starting to see that this hotter stretch of games that we've had at the end. But if we look at the rankings, as we know, it's just a bracket going in. Right now, number one is Utah State at 24-5. New Mexico's 22-7. San Diego State, Nevada, and Colorado State all at 19 wins. We will be middle of the pack seated. If I'm not mistaken, they did a projected bracket last night when I was watching the Air Force game, and I believe we were projected to take on Nevada. The
Mhm.
only downfall of taking on Nevada, we were on the upper half of the bracket, which means if we get past Nevada, we immediately face Utah State.
Mhm.
Uh, so it'll be an interesting Las Vegas trip, to say the
Yeah,
least.
to say the very least, yeah. I'm interested to see how we is out.
Let's see here. Let's jump over to the women's team. Now the girls, it's a little bit different story, right? We've
Yeah.
talked about them before. They're sitting at 9-19 overall, 6-12 in the Mountain West, and I believe they closed out with a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we're just at a state, and this is what I would tell the girls team, even if I was their coach in this situation. I'd say you've got nothing to lose. Go have fun. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I think everybody's going to write them off, and that makes you a threat no matter what happens. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely when it comes to tournament play, playoff play, you definitely have a sense going into the game that anybody could win, especially in basketball specifically. Now, I'm not really sure on if everyone's healthy or not because obviously when you get towards the end of the season, that's something you have to look out for is injuries and things like that. But I mean, you definitely just never as any team want to in your head guarantee, hey, this is going to be a win because but that's like I don't know, that's like something natural that people do. Like naturally people are like, all right, we're playing this team that has a terrible record, so we should win this game. And then we do this thing where if it's not a losing team, it's a team that's in the middle or a team that is doing really well. Our mentality changes, and I think it's going to be important for any team to have a consistent mindset game in and game out, no matter who the team is, because again, the concept of a trap game, it stems from that way of thinking and approaching the games.
Yeah.
With that theory, if you have some teams that are looking at Wyoming basketball, yeah, this is a guaranteed dub, then I think that's the biggest opportunity to create an upset.
Yeah. I personally am hoping that they are sleeping on us, and I personally hope that our girls are going to come in hungry, which they will. It's the end of the season. You're going to Vegas for a reason. Yeah, I just hope maybe we can get matched up with a high seed and some surprise the people and make a nice run. That's the nice thing about March when it comes to basketball. It's madness. So we will see what happens.
Yeah.
Got a little shout out for you.
Okay.
Macy Hansen, swimmer, sophomore at the University of Wyoming, obviously. She actually broke a school record in the 400-yard freestyle. And then she also won the 1,650-yard freestyle. I don't know about you. I'm going to struggle to swim the 400, let alone the 1,600. So, but she broke a school record, and she is an NCAA championship qualifier. So shout out to Macy.
Oh, that's awesome. I wonder if they have a 10-yard.
I was gonna
As far as I'll make it before I before I start calling for help.
I was gonna say, Jahmari, you and I can enter the cannonball contest as long as
Cannonball.
they throw in some floaties for us shortly
Yeah.
thereafter. We'll
I'll
be
go with a
okay.
life vest.
Yeah.
I'll go in with a vest.
So, and then J Mike. So right now the NFL Combine is going. I checked; he wasn't done with all of them. All of them,
By
but
this part in time.
yeah, he ran a 4.6, which I do know is phenomenal at his size. He's currently ranked 10th among all tight ends that were invited. He's ranked 6th in athleticism, but he's ranked 21st in production. If you're an NFL team drafting late, what's more important to you? Is it that athleticism number or ranking, or is it that production ranking? Because for me personally, if I'm drafting late, I think I'm going with more athleticism.
Yeah, I'll stand on the other side. I'll go production. I think that when you look at the combine and you look at all of these different crazy numbers you see every year, what you'll find, coaches, is that yes, the athleticism, the numbers, those are helpful to raise your stock. But the tape really, the play is what lets coaches know if you can play or not. And it's more so a closer look at your skill set with the combine and then how you'd be able to use. And so I think athleticism can widen the creativity in ways you can be used in I would say the NFL scheme, which I think is a good thing. I think production and results and how did you grade out on each play? How did you grade out on this block, this cutoff? How did you grade off on that route, right? Those are all different things that coaches care about as well. And I think that for me, it's going to be whether or not you're able to produce. Because, at the end of the day, what good is running really fast, jumping really far, high, different things like that if you aren't positively contributing to the play? And so for me, I'm going to go production. I think production is going to be something that is really critical for coaches at the end of the day. But I do think athleticism gives you a chance because there's a lot more flexibility with how you can be used. So then it's especially with J Mike, at that position specifically, there's a ton of different things you can do with tight end. There's a bunch of different things you can do. And so I think him having that athleticism and being as fast as he is in that position will definitely be a huge outset. Then it's just a matter of what he does with it.
Yeah, I can see both ends. I get where you're coming from. I guess my hope is that a coach or a GM is, I don't want to say arrogant enough, but confident enough to say, okay, he's ranked 6th in athleticism, 21st in production. I can coach up production. I can't coach up athleticism. So maybe that's my hope that a GM's going to take. But I definitely get where you're coming from.
When they go production, are they basing it off of their just overall college career? Or are they basing it on the Combine or both?
Combine metric.
So just the combine metric. See, but
Yeah.
you have guys that do well in the NFL that don't even now. Obviously, these are like the triple A, top 10 picks maybe that have a little bit more leeway of not doing the combine. But I just think that when you look at the body of work that he's put together over the span of his career, I think that teams will, if they have a good coach and a good system, I think he'll be fine. So raising his stock and just how much he's impacted Wyoming, his time there. And then also having context as well. I just remember when Josh was going through this process and people had all of these questions. Well, my first year, our offense was loaded. A bunch of amazing seniors, running back, receiver. It was everywhere.
It was
Tight
insane.
end. So we were loaded and able to score a lot of points that year. And then the following season, there's a drop off, not necessarily of what the guys can do at that time, but it's just a younger team. It's a much younger team, much younger offense. And so now it's like being able to fill that gap. And a lot of people had questions because that was his last season. And here we are today, him being who he is. And so I think also just looking at a lot of the different issues we had offensively, you put him in a system where things are a lot more efficient, it's going to show.
Yep. So you heard it here first, folks. Sean Payton, please go get J Mike for me, please. Pretty please.
I have a student who seconds that. I have a student who came up to me one day during lunch. It's like, hey, mister, we should draft this guy.
Yeah, 1,000%. Oh yeah, I would love that. And if he can get back to where everybody thought he would be, he'll be a steal. 1,000%. So let's see here. Jahmari, I think we're good. I think we've covered everything that we wanted to get. Are you anything else you want to touch on? Or are you ready for this couch question of the week?
Nothing specific. Just know that I believe spring is around the corner and it's got here extremely fast. Daylight saving is this upcoming weekend on Sundays.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so just be aware.
Spring
losing an hour this weekend. Or spring forward. Yeah. So that's this weekend on Sunday.
Jeez. Okay. Well, dang it. I hate springing forward, man. I hate it so much. It's fine. I'll be okay. You just lose that hour, but we don't sleep anyway, so I guess it's fine.
I don't mind it. I like sunshine, so
that's true. The daylight coming back will be nice. The daylight coming back. All right, Jahmari. Couch question of the week. I asked it of Dan. What is the strategy for the March Madness bracket?
Okay, so similar to Dan, I'm not the biggest avid college basketball watcher. I've probably watched more Wyoming basketball than anything else, but I have been keeping up with specific players.
Okay.
One that used to go to Wyoming too, that now he's balling out at Gonzaga. Shout out to Ike.
Graham's doing well still. How old is Graham? I feel like he could be 25 at this point. I didn't even know.
He came to Wyoming that first year. He's a Colorado native.
He is still going. Okay.
And so he's probably going to get drafted really high this year, maybe top 15.
Yeah.
And so I do keep up with specific players, but as far as a bracket, similar to Dan, I've learned favorites for the most part good. As far as like who wins it, now as far as getting everything right, I don't think I'll ever do that, maybe. But no matter how much I watch, but there's 3 different things I do whenever I do want to participate in a bracket. One, similar to Dan, I'll just go with who's favorite in a lot of these, unless there's like an injury or something comes out where maybe that's going to shift the line a little bit. The second thing I do is I think about, okay, what I go off of, like, there's one bracket. The second one is now upsets. Everyone will be upset. Like, I'll still have some favorites, but I start to sprinkle in a little bit more upsets. So I try to have at least, like, I have more of the upsets that happened in the earlier rounds, because what happens is that with the seeding, if you're just going purely off of how they're ranked and you don't account for upsets in the beginning, it just messes the whole thing up.
I
And
was gonna say all those points.
for previous years, there's been so many upsets. So I almost have a bracket where I just sprinkle in I might have more upsets than wins that are supposed to happen. And then the last one, this is kind of like where now I would actually talk to people, do a little bit more research, and I would look at who is actually hot in that moment. Like I'll look at the last 5 to 8 games for teams and
Mhm.
see how they've been. Because sometimes teams just play at the right like, play well at the right time. Like, sometimes it's just you're just clicking right when you need to. And so, that's the last strategy is I look at the last 5 to 8 games from each team and see how they've basically have been faring and how they've been the last couple games because then I believe there'll be, like, momentum going into the tournament, and so I'll go off of that. So those are like my 3. Sometimes I might pick and choose between which one I'd go with, but there's times where it's like, "Oh, I'll go with all 3." But I don't do it enough where I'm, like, really believing I would win. I've actually come close a couple times. Ironically, it's always the people who barely watch that figures it out. But
Yep.
what about you,
Yep.
though? Do you have a specific strategy?
I was gonna say, so I don't watch college basketball other than Wyoming until it hits March. It's just like the NBA. I don't watch the NBA until it really hits the playoffs. And so I pretty much do what you guys do. I'll look at favorites to a certain degree, and then I just try to go off of realistic upsets as much as I can. And usually I do a fairly good job looking at like point differential or looking at defensive statistics or stuff like that. You can look at like a really defensive team versus a not so good offensive team or stuff like that. But I don't have a lot of rhyme or reason to it. I just like to hear some people's strategies. Like I know my mom, we put her in a couple of paid pools for brackets and she's won them just by doing mascots and
I've
won
heard of that.
actually, yeah, hundreds of dollars by just picking mascots. So I'm like, okay, there's really no rhyme or reason to any of this. You just went by mascots. So yeah, it's always cool to and interesting to see what everybody's strategy is. I'll have to ask my wife what she does again, but I think she chooses a statistic and just goes off of it for all of her teams. So I've heard different strategies for different people.
You just gotta hope yours worked that year.
Yep.
'Cause they all
Um,
can't work.
exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, man, that's pretty much all we got. Again, thank you. Big shout out and thank you to Dan Morris, voice of Cowboy Wrestling. Good luck to the Cowboys in the Big 12s next week. Good luck to the Cowboys and Cowgirls in Las Vegas for the Mountain West Championships. Yeah, man, March is here. That's pretty much all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, one thing, listeners, thank you again for tuning in and hanging out with us. Episode number 23. Please like, subscribe, share, do all of those things. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate the sport, and we want to make sure we're getting all this information out to people. So thank you so much. And that's all I got, man.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. Well, we will see you most likely, I would say either next week or the week after to continue with our kind of every other week system. It just kind of depends on what all we have going on. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And yeah, God bless. Go Pokes, Powder River.
Let her bet.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.